Hello and welcome to Movie Beaters with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk.
I'm Kyle.
And we're here with Paul Economon.
Economon.
I always get people's last names wrong.
That's
Anyways,
so common. That's out of all the mistakes of my name, Economon is always the.
Economon,
it is so simple. It's just like the economy. Economon.
Economon?
Yeah.
Paul
I minored in
Economon.
economics. I got it.
Yeah, there you go. It's Greek. If you go to Athens, my name is like Anderson or Johnson.
Whoa, could you put that plate down, Paul, and not throw it at my wall?
Oh.
It's a Greek joke. I went right there.
Wow,
Stop spraying Windex on Kirk.
Eparisto.
Ajax?
No, it's Windex in the
I'm talking about the soap.
quitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul is an actor who is joining us to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yee.
Why did you pick this movie, Paul?
Well, it's interesting because I have always admired Quentin Tarantino. And so I just recently said, you know what? I'm going to go watch every one of his films. You know, there's not that many. It's only like 9 now. And so I started with, well, actually, I didn't start with Pulp Fiction because I've seen it so many times. So I started it and I just finished that film, this last film. And I wanted to do another film that you guys had already done. So
You want to do a Complete Unknown?
Complete Unknown. I was so taken by that film.
You were taken.
I really was. It was.
Are you a Bob Dylan fan?
I wasn't.
Oh.
I was not a Bob Dylan
love
fan.
that.
I mean, I didn't dislike him. You know, I mean, I gotta say, I didn't really like him though. I mean, I really wasn't into that kind of music.
Folk?
The folk music especially. But I saw him around 2001, 2002.
Sure.
And he was promoting a country album, so he barely sang any of his other songs. And so I was really kind of peeved about that.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of carried with me, you know. I'm like, come on, you know, I had to see him because he's Bob Dylan.
Wait, did you see him in Minnesota or California?
Yeah, I saw him in Minnesota.
Okay.
And it was like 2004 maybe.
Wasn't he famous by this point for not playing the songs people wanted him to?
Well,
That's what the movie shows us?
You know, the only thing I knew about his history was that he went electric, and that made everybody upset, but that's all I knew. Because that's all I delved into. Because you know, Tangled Up in Blue, that was like the only song I really liked.
Oh, sure.
And so when I went to go see that film, A Complete Unknown, I went in there with no expectations, and I wasn't a big, huge Timothée Chalamet fan.
No.
You know, I didn't see Wonka. I'm not a big Wonka guy, so I'm not.
Turbo Timmy?
Turbo.
I'll stick with the first one. What's his name? The first
Gene
one. Gene Hackman.
No, Gene.
Gene Wilder.
Sorry.
Yes, Gene Wilder. Anyways, so I did not see that, and I'm sorry to say I didn't appreciate Dune. I liked the first Dune. Okay.
You didn't like Dune Part 2? You liked Dune 1, but did not.
I liked the original Dune.
Oh, you like the David Lynch Dune.
The
Rest in
David Lynch
peace.
Dune. Yes.
You know how I feel towards Bob Dylan. I'm glad I didn't say on that episode because David Lynch died between when we recorded it and when it came out. And I've had many friends in my life who are David Lynch fans, and that's like it's like being a Bob Dylan music fan. It's like I'm in it for its weirdness and like the singer's singer quality. And I feel like liking Quentin Tarantino is like a cliche thing of movie people. I'm calling you a cliche right off the bat here.
You can. That's fine.
Well, I never knew that.
It is a style, and Lynch has a style, which I really appreciate.
You're a Lynch fan.
So I'm a Lynch fan, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so we're totally off of the Quentin Tarantino film. So I went to the film with no expectations. I loved it. It was just fantastic. I was emotional. It was so emotional. Oh. And you know, people are cutting down Ellie Fanning for her part, saying, "Oh my God, you know, she could have done so much." But she was perfect. She came across as the real love interest. I mean, as a love interest.
Sure.
And I get it, you know. I mean, they changed some of the things. She is the character. I know I would listen to you guys on the podcast. Somebody said that it was an amalgamation of people, and it wasn't. It was really close to who she was, except for she was more left wing. She was very apolitical. She was her parents were like communists, and she went to Europe for like 6.5 months or 8 months. She wasn't there for like 3 weeks. I mean, there's a lot of little things that they changed.
So you know a lot about Bob Dylan.
Well, afterwards.
Oh, you looked all this up.
Afterwards, okay. I was just, oh my God.
Our linear listeners will definitely appreciate that. Related to the movie, Dakota Fanning is in it. So who is the better Fanning sister, Dakota or Elle? You think Elle is the better one?
Well, I think he's more attractive.
What?
Yeah. I liked the what was the Queen when she was oh my God, what is that?
Oh, the show in Russia.
Yes.
With Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah, that was
The Great.
The Great. She was fantastic in that. I have to say.
So Clint Eastwood had a nickname for Nicholas Hoult on Juror Number 2 because of his his ability to do cunnilingus in that show. He called him like Captain Cunnilingus or something. According to Nicholas Hoult, that's
that's like a Saturday Night Live skit where Christopher Walken is doing Captain Cunnilingus.
Maybe that's where Clint got it from. Because,
probably.
And I mean, Clint kind of relates to this movie because he went and did the spaghetti westerns, and spaghetti westerns obviously play into. I don't think it's a spoiler to say
no,
that,
not yet. No,
not yet. Yes.
Well, maybe it is because nobody knows. Well, that's not really the plot of the film. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're back talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I'm going to weave in and out and try to find points of debate. And
okay.
I think Dakota's better because she was in Man on Fire, and I think she's more interesting. Like
she is definitely yes, I would agree with that. She looks more real. I think Ellie appears to be more model-ish.
She played a model in Neon Demon.
There you go. Yeah. So, but I think she did such a wonderful job and a complete unknown.
Elle Fanning could never make me believe that she would watch 60s television with Bruce Dern. Okay, maybe that's going way too far to us.
Did you know that Burt Reynolds was supposed to be that part?
I did know that Burt Reynolds was supposed to be, but then he died on.
He had a heart attack, and Quentin. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but he said. It's hilarious, I think. Quentin says that, well, Burt Reynolds died happy because he knew he was cast in a Tarantino film.
Yeah.
And he was doing his lines when he died, which he was, apparently. He could have been. But he had a heart attack,
Let's have a Quentin Tarantino debate. Over or underrated? Having rewatched his oeuvre recently.
Watching what?
Having rewatched Quentin Tarantino's, I use the word oeuvre.
Yeah, what's oeuvre?
What?
What's oeuvre?
His body of work. It's a word for body of work.
Oh, wow, okay.
You could say catalog.
Word.
Sure, I could say catalog. I said oeuvre.
You could say oeuvre, which is too close to ovaries.
I can't spell it. So Quentin Tarantino, overrated or underrated? Properly rated?
He's properly rated.
Okay.
Because I don't think he's underrated for sure, and I don't think he's overrated. I mean, I know that there's so many people actors want to be in Tarantino films, but there are other actors that have said no to Tarantino films because of his violence. And Sylvester Stallone was supposed to be in Death Proof.
Oh, yeah.
And he was supposed to be Kurt Russell part. Yep. And he refused to do it because he said, I have daughters that age and I'm not killing my daughters. So, I mean, and I think Stallone was but can you imagine? I mean, I think Stallone is such a horrible actor.
I'll go this way out. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I can't imagine him being in anything that is...
Adrian!
There you go.
You gotta let me do what I want to do. It's because I gotta do what I gotta do and you won't let me do it. Rocky Balboa, sixth one.
But he wasn't. He was supposed to be another one of Quentin's characters in another film too. I can't remember.
Was it?
Dang, he turned him down twice.
No, I think he was supposed to have the Robert De Niro part in Jackie Brown.
That was it. Yes, it was. That was it. And
I think Quentin Tarantino's overrated because he's a pastiche director. Oh wow, okay.
He's overrated.
So you got to fight us on this, Paul.
But wait a minute. Can you imagine Sylvester Stallone being Al Pacino's or Robert De Niro's part
in Jackie Brown.
It would have been horrible. He would not have been able to get any of the nuances. Because he doesn't have very many lines. You know what I mean? It's all character. It's all facial. It's all look. It's all,
With Sylvester Stallone?
No, with
Robert De Niro.
With De Niro. Yeah, so Stallone wouldn't be able to pull that off. He's not a good enough actor to pull that off. There's no way.
Stallone has a face that communicates a lot of different things. I watched all of Tulsa King recently.
Okay.
I'm a
you can see behind
man.
all the plastic surgery now, or what?
Well, to be fair, if you watch the early Rocky movies, he's actually got kind of a screwed up face because there was a nerve that got severed when he was
Yeah, but that looked real then, now it just looks like plastic surgery.
You think he's had plastic surgery?
Are you kidding me?
Railing against his plastic surgery?
No, I'm like, come on, dude, you just it's too late now. It's like Julia Roberts, right? She was in that film with Brad Pitt.
The Mexican?
This is
Ocean's
the
Mexican.
The last one. The last one that he did where he's on a train. I can't remember.
A bullet train?
You're talking about Sandra Bullock.
Oh, Sandra Bullock. Yes, I'm Sandra Bullock. I'm sorry. Sandra Bullock. Yes.
The one
it is
train.
Bullet Train, directed by the guy who did Fall Guy.
Which is a pretty good film, but you don't see Sandra until the end. And then you see her, and she looked, God bless his soul, she looked like Michael Jackson.
She's beautiful.
She looked like Michael Jackson. She had the same plastic surgeon as Michael Jackson, because there was Michael Jackson and was Sandra Bullock after all her plastic surgery.
Wow.
I don't remember her in the movie.
You got to look at the end of that film, and you tell me that she does not look like Michael Jackson.
There's the thin face thing, which is like, because he did that with his nose, Michael. And I imagine your nose gets bigger as you get older, correct?
Well, Michael had obviously some sort of, I don't want to call it a disease.
He had vitiligo.
Well, he had that too, but he had body disform, I forget what you call it now. But he
had body dysmorphia, you mean?
What he saw was not what we saw.
Yes.
Right. And so and some people are like that. Some people are addicted to, and that's another thing. I don't know if he was that as well, but some people are addicted to plastic surgery because you can just never get it right. So they keep doing more and more.
Right.
There's also the commodification of performers, which I feel comfortable saying to you as an actor, and it happens more with women than it does with men.
Unfortunately,
as somebody who finds the
because I think a lot of people just age beautifully, and if they just accepted that, then it's too bad the society can't accept that either, because that's the other side of the coin,
Hollywood.
Isn't it? Right? Exactly.
Well, yeah, that's the pressure. So,
yeah.
I don't. And speaking of commodification of bodies, part of why I think Quentin Tarantino is overrated is because he's been able to have his fetish out in public for decades now.
Well, come on. So there was 36 shots of feet. Is that an over?
Why do you know that number?
Well, isn't it?
Because I looked it up.
Okay.
Wow.
Because I know what his fetish is. I don't know if it's his fetish. I know what he likes.
We can't argue that he commodifies the body part of feet in movies. Clearly.
Yes. But if you didn't know that, and you weren't, and this was pointed out to me. This was pointed out to me by a friend of mine, and I'd seen the movie before that. And I never thought anything of it because the scenes all look so natural.
What movie was this? Was this movie or any of them?
No, I'm talking about this one.
Since I was a child.
I'm just talking about this one.
Okay. But he does it in all of them.
Yes, but this is the one that he has the most.
36
shots.
Yeah.
Or more. There was 10 to 15 in. That was Rodriguez, the one that Quentin wrote, but he starred in. But Rodriguez shot.
The vampire one? With,
where he's
George
licking.
Clooney?
Yeah, it's a horrible.
From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yeah, where he's licking the feet. Yeah.
I think it's.
I'm not going to argue for From Dusk Till Dawn. Quentin Tarantino, good actor or bad actor?
He's a horrible actor.
He doesn't act that much.
Horrible. He cannot act. He should not. If he's got a part in his best part, I think, was when he was in Django and Chains, and he played.
Oh, that prisoner guy.
He played. Was one of the.
Wasn't he Australian?
Australian, yes. That was his best part, and he was a bad accent, but he pulled it off. That was his best part. That was, I mean, in Pulp Fiction when he's, doing my wife drinks she drinks the gourmet stuff. I like Folgers. No, come on.
That seems funny.
Actually, that's not too bad.
I'm going to argue his best part is in Desperado when he goes to the bar and tells the story about the guy pissing on the bar so that he could win money in a bet.
You could be right. I haven't seen that movie in such a long. I didn't watch that I didn't consider that part of the filmography. He did write it, and I didn't watch.
No, he didn't write Desperado. That's still Robert Rodriguez. But whereas he and Robert Rodriguez together wrote From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So I still think. So you think Quentin Tarantino is rated appropriately as a writer-director. I'm saying he has better acting parts than Django Unchained. Kirk, do you want to take a position on either of these things so we can try to...
Yeah, I'd say Tarantino is overrated. I think...
As an actor or as a director?
A director. I mean, he's already making how many films? 10? We should stop at 10.
Well, if he's going to do... He has a Star Wars or a Star Trek script.
I don't know. Is that ever going to come out?
But has he even started it? I don't even know if he started it yet.
No, he turned it in, but it's not like that's not the next one they're doing.
Yes, and that was the thing that I don't think he wants to end on something that is not his original. Yeah.
Yeah, although he does have Batman at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the credits.
Which is, I think, a beautiful, awesome thing to add. Can I tell you why?
Please.
It adds to the innocence.
The ending of the movie, but we're not spoiling yet?
Of the era, because this is the end. The film this isn't a spoiler, but the film is about the end of an era. And literally, when the Manson murders occurred, which is not another spoiler, we all know, that changed everything. 69 to 70, that people were locking their doors all of a sudden. It really did.
But it wasn't like JFK getting killed 6 years earlier.
That was a really big deal too, but that was a different kind of a situation though. These people were considered more, I mean, it wasn't just the Tates. I mean, you had the LaBiancas and, so it could happen to anyone. Kennedy, God bless him. I mean, that was traumatic and horrible in its own sense as well. But and it's not acceptable at all. But he was the president,
Well, he said we had to get out of Vietnam, so the CIA clearly had to kill him.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, you weren't. I don't want to ask your age, but you weren't alive for when the Manson murders happened, were you?
Well, I was a child, yeah.
Oh, you were? Okay, so you remember that happening?
No, I don't remember it. No.
Oh, okay,
no,
so you weren't aware at the time, but
No, I was very, like we're talking 0 to 1.
Okay. I'm trying to think of who I know back then, and that's not what comes up first. It was the assassinations that come up, although I see how one...
Well, the assassination was 62, right?
63 for Kennedy.
Okay, 63,
and then MLK and RFK are 68.
Yes,
and then this is
like months apart,
69.
right? And this is 69. So I mean, you could argue that especially Martin Luther King and Bobby were probably more on that train, but I would think JFK wouldn't even be on that thought because after he passed away, so much happened. And Dylan, right? I mean, here we go. Yeah. The music, things were changing, and I think that really kind of lit the spark. You know what I mean? For things that the rioting, the idea, the revolution. Okay, the revolution that was beginning and was occurring. I think Kennedy after those ideals, because everybody loved that guy.
Not the mob, not the CIA,
but
Lyndon
you know what
Johnson.
I mean? It's like he was so after Manson and his killings. I think that was just the end. That was the final straw. And then the 70s hit, and like Quentin will tell you his favorite genres of films by decades. He really loved the 70s and hated the 80s.
Yes.
Which the 70s got very dark.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, was that indicative of what was happening,
The dark, what did they call that? Like the noir of the 70s was at the time considered neo-noir. And then...
That was the neo-noir then. Now it's,
Old noir.
Old noir now, yeah. Old neo-noir.
I don't know how I feel about going from killing Nazis and slavers to killing cultists. I'm not sure those are all on the same level. Do you know what I mean?
Are you referring to the World War II, and then, or are you?
Yeah, he does Inglourious Basterds, where he's killing Nazis.
Okay.
Yeah, just his films, like killing Nazis. Okay, the sins from outside of our nation. Then it's okay. We have to go back to America's original sin, which is slavery, obviously. And then he, deals with that.
Well, do you think he followed it along some sort of linear path of, or do you think that he just has this imagination and he's got carte blanche now to recreate history in his own fantasy?
Wait, are you saying it should have been bigger?
No, I'm saying he's moving closer to home in a way I'm not sure I like, because I'm not, and movies are a reflection of the world around us, not the other way around, and people feel differently, obviously.
But you got to look at his upbringing as well, and he was,
single mom.
Well, not just that, but I mean, brought up in a world of people that had been in Vietnam and people that had been in World War II, and then Nazis, and that is such a huge. People don't think about it today. I don't think. I mean, especially people younger than 30. I don't know, right? I mean, do they really think about Nazi Germany? Do they really think about Vietnam? Do they think about Korea? Do they even know what the Korean War was? I mean, those sort of things. And he grew up in that, so it was always idolized. And so all the film programs were, kill those Nazis. And I think that thought and that idea, that upbringing that he had, created these fantasies and these ideals. And he's a good writer, so he was able to write. Let's rewrite it, man. What if?
The end of Inglourious Basterds, you were referring to.
And for Inglourious Basterds, yes. And then for Django Unchained, again, let's rewrite this,
Yes. You asked a specific question there. Do you think people under 30 think about Vietnam? I was, when I first started dating Mrs. Farx. What? Thank you.
How old are you?
I am in my late 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you could be. You look young. I mean,
thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't sure if you were 40 or not, which would have been insulting to ask you if you were alive when the Manson killing's happening. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you were talking about it with such authority. I was like, well, you seem to be very familiar with this time. So I'm talking to my Farx father-in-law.
Yeah. Back to it.
Was telling us a story when I had first started dating Mrs. Farx. And he was talking about being over at a guy's house in Baltimore, and he lived in a basement. He was a guy he'd met. I can't remember how my father-in-law said he met this guy. And this is talking about Vietnam. And you'll see how it relates to Quentin Tarantino, because he's like, hey, so, guy's cool. He's drinking beer. They're just kind of hung out in this guy's basement apartment. And he sees a jar up on a windowsill, and he's like, hey, what's that? And it's ears and fingers that this guy had collected when he was in Vietnam.
And hopefully it's in formaldehyde.
Yeah. And he wanted to show it to him, and he was like, oh, let me just finish this beer and get the hell out of here. But as people will find out in the interview section that'll come out after this section, you've dealt with people who have been through traumatic things in their lives, and it was a very interesting. So to your point about Vietnam, it is interesting to see how that had negative effects on people. Mm-hmm. And I think, as highlighted in that story my father-in-law told me, and cutting off ears goes to Reservoir Dogs.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I did a film with Michael Madsen.
You did?
Yeah. And he said that he thought of that himself. That was improv.
Gross.
It wasn't Quentin didn't write that in.
Oh, yeah.
So Michael did that, and he said he was terrified. He thought he was going to get fired. This is what he told me. He said, I thought Quentin was going to fire me because I did something that, oh my God. And he loved it. And he.
Wait, how do you improv cutting someone's ear off?
Do you remember the Reservoir Dogs?
I know, but how do you improv that? Does the guy know he's
he's walking around, I don't know what he. I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Stuck in the middle with you. Yeah.
It's a great scene. I mean, up until
watched it as a child.
Justice was the film. I think it was called Justice.
What was
the film
the movie you made with Michael Madsen?
Oh no, it wasn't called Justice. No, Jesse Mass was the director.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the film.
Right into Movie Baiters with the Farx brothers. Just comment on this episode, whichever social media you find.
Yeah, we know you're listening.
Have you worked with any other actors who have...
Woody Harrelson?
Has he worked with Quentin Tarantino?
Oh no! Oh yes, I think didn't he? No, he no, he did not.
No,
no,
I think he's referenced that movie that Woody Harrelson made where he's a killer. I can't think.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
and Quentin wrote that film and he sold that film. And who was the director? It was
Brian De Palma.
No, it wasn't Brian De Palma. It was the guy that did Platoon.
Oh, it was all. Oh, you're right. It was Oliver Stone.
It was Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
And he rewrote
Vietnam movie.
Yeah, he wrote Quentin's script and Quentin hated it, so he told him to take his name off the.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Woody Harrelson, in a sense, has worked with Quentin Tarantino. Okay, so
he
Woody
worked underneath
Harrelson.
he did his script anyway. He worked with in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and anyone else that because this kind of like. This is like when we had Wes Johnson on to debate Terrifier, and Wes Johnson had contributed music to Terrifier 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So this
there you go. So Michael Madsen would be, and he's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He is?
Yeah.
No. I mean, yes, I'm agreeing.
He's in a lot of his films. So that is. I mean, I didn't even think about that. There is a total. I mean, I spent a couple of days with this guy. I really liked him. I thought he was a great dude. I mean, he was down to earth, and I know that somebody else had just worked with Julia Roberts' brother in a film shot here recently.
Eric Roberts.
Yeah, and so Eric Roberts shows up on set. He does not know his lines. Absolutely knows nothing. He demands cue cards around him that he can read off of.
Cool.
Michael was not like that at all. He knew his lines. He knew that dude was cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, these are calibers. I mean. Eric Roberts, I mean, he's like, in Hollywood, he's probably like a D actor.
What? You don't think Michael Madsen and Eric Roberts are on the
Michael
same level?
Michael Madsen's way above that.
I have some inside knowledge, but I can't say from where that Michael Madsen was unpleasant to house at a hotel in the Twin Cities.
I'm sure that happened. I worked with Matt Dillon, and he was a total dick. I mean, you talk about a dick. I mean, there's nobody I've ever met in my life that he was so arrogant that, I mean, but otherwise everybody says, oh man, he's such a great dude, So I think everybody's got their moments.
Sure.
So, and who's the guy that was on what's his name? The Home Improvement.
Tim Allen?
Oh, he's another dick.
Wait, Joe Somebody? You worked on Joe Somebody?
I don't remember what film it was. This was like the 90s.
Was that filmed in Minnesota?
Yeah, Joe Somebody.
Maybe it was Joe Somebody. I was an extra. I was just starting out, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell the story.
He was, we were in craft service. You remember, we were eating, and then you always let the crew go first. And he jumps in front of the crew and demands them to get out of the way. Feed me. I am the actor. I'm the lead, but pushing people, just rude. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm a young neophyte going, what the fuck? This motherfucker is an asshole. You know what I mean? And then he storms off, and he comes back, and I told myself, right, I'll never be like that.
Wait, former cocaine dealer and Michigan's own Tim Allen.
I'm not cutting him any slack. I don't care. You know what? Fuck that motherfucker. Shit.
Buzz Lightyear, how can you? To infinity and go fuck yourself.
Right on.
Oh man.
Shove it up your ass.
I don't. This is definitely a one. Wait, Kirk, you got a point on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No.
Oh.
I think that was a great decision.
So the story, but we didn't really talk about it, really. So basically, it's about 2.5 days in the life of a couple of actors in Hollywood surrounding 1969 and the Manson murders.
Boom. That is the log line, more or less, from the movie.
Yep.
See, you can do this log line stuff, as I ask you. People will see hear in the episode coming out after this in your interview. We ask you about log lines for a movie. Brad versus Brad, Inglourious Bastards versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Which performance?
Okay, well, I used to be a Brad hater.
What?
Until. Oh my God! I wish I would have thought about this beforehand. What's the film where he's kind of a cowboy and he's a love interest, and this was before. This isn't a Quentin Tarantino film.
This is an older movie.
Older movie.
A
yeah.
river runs through it.
Yeah, maybe, is that it?
No,
No, I don't think that's
the 90s. Is it a 90s movie?
I think so. Anyways, I fell in love with him there. He did such a great job in that. I mean, he started with Thelma and Louise, right?
Sure.
And granted, he didn't do a bad. I mean, now that I go back and look at that, I can see. He did a better job than just being a semi-attractive gorgeous looking man who ends up sleeping with Gina Davis. But he is able to convey his lines in a way that, I used to be more critical.
Okay.
So to get back to your question, he in Inglourious Bastards, his character, he's from the it's an actual character. His character is an actual person. His father was a bootlegger that lived in the Kentucky hills or something like that. So it fits if you know that. His backstory really fits because here's this guy who talks, in this kind of jerky, monosyllabic.
You're talking about his character.
His character, yeah, with a southern accent.
I want my Nazi scalps.
I want my Nazi scalps. Yes, exactly. That's it. Yeah. Is it that far of a stretch from his character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
So which one do you prefer? You have to pick one. And I'm going to pick the other one and argue why that one's better. It's a debate show.
I know. I'm trying to picture which one I want. Okay, let's. I'm taking Cliff and Once Upon a Hollywood. He did a great job. He's the anti-hero, man. He's the fucking anti-hero.
Here's why I will argue for. I can't remember his character's name in Inglourious Bastards. It would be because the accent isn't natural, so having to do a character with an accent.
I can see that.
And then the arc and having to build in the backstory, whereas Cliff Booth is kind of backstory-less except for his relationship to his Burt Reynolds, Leo DiCaprio's character.
So you
I'm taking Inglourious Bastards.
I know you are, but I don't hear the argument. What was
the argument? Is that he's doing more. You kind of
he
laid
did
it out.
More, yeah.
He did more in Inglourious Bastards, and I know that to be further from who Brad Pitt is, whereas he's just fucking cool in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
He is. And he does it. It's such a great job. All you got to do is take the scene. This isn't a spoiler, but he take the scene where he's walking out of the George Spahn's house after whatever happened there. I won't say. And and this is another Quentin Tarantino just beautifulness is the way that he juxtaposes the people and the landscapes. And now as he comes out of the house, his car, and he's like, he's gone through this shit. He's been satisfied with whatever, and he sees he's got a flat tire, and he's like, fuck. But he doesn't lose it. He just keeps walking.
He kind of loses it.
No, he's not yet. He's walking. He shakes it off. If I would have lost, I would have been like, fuck, you motherfuckers. You fucking, my tire. No, he walks. And then we got that.
You would adopt a New York accent if you were interacting with people and were upset?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Okay.
And then we got Andy McDowell's daughter, which I can't remember her name now.
Margaret Qualley is
she's fantastic.
Is she Pussycat?
She's Pussycat.
Yeah,
she's so pissed at him now. And she goes, I'm mad at you. And he goes, yes, you should never have come here. I'm starting to think that's correct. And then he walks to his car and he sees this dude sitting on the fence just laughing and smiling. And anyways, so, he is so cool. He's got it down and he's such the anti-hero and he is complete confidence, whereas Leonardo DiCaprio is the complete opposite of that. He's short.
No, I was saying sure. He's not confident. I do want to talk about Leo, but I want to keep going on our Brad versus Brad debate.
Okay.
Is you've given me a great reason why Brad's better in Inglourious than he is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because the scene you've just described has the benefit of coming after Quentin Tarantino has directed 2 cowboy movies. So Quentin Tarantino learned how to make cowboy movies, and then Brad Pitt got to be the beneficiary of that. Quentin Tarantino had not made a Nazi killing movie before, and Brad Pitt, helped him get that movie made, and then did more of a character than just what I imagine Brad Pitt is like every day, based on also his appearance in the latest season of Dave, Little Dickie's show. I don't expect you to understand or know that reference.
I don't, because I don't.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would liken it to any of the interviews you can see with after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Quentin and Margot and Leo and Brad, and Quentin obviously takes the whole room, and Brad is just kind of a doof dude in a sense, and Leo is more of a I'm just watching the whole show, and Margot's laughing, and Quentin is going on and on about his stories, and everybody laughs to these things that are not necessarily that funny or that great, but they all have this respect for him. And Brad is in the family order. He's kind of the dumb one. I mean,
what?
I know it doesn't.
Okay.
He's not stupid. I mean, it's just out of the four, he's the one that just kind of
hanging out.
Yeah, just sits there and kind of do.
Well, he does movies for money sometimes, so we have that.
They all
perception.
do movies for money.
Well, Leo does movies for money, but he doesn't exactly. He has a lot of. He gets movies made that wouldn't otherwise be made, whereas Brad Pitt does do that, but he also does the one for himself, or he does the one for the money kind of movie. You can tell. The Ocean's 13 is not one for the money.
See, you know what? I watched the first one, and I haven't watched any. I will not watch any of them because
I've got them coming in the mail. How dare you? You knew that coming here and wanted to make me have buyer's remorse.
Well, let's have an argument about that. It just seems like the same old plot over and over again. Though I love George Clooney. You know, I mean, I got to say, is he in the last one? In the next?
He's in all three. Yeah, he's not in Ocean's 8. I don't expect.
None of them technically are, right?
There's
just a sister.
I don't
one of the
recall.
main characters. Yeah.
This is something Quentin Tarantino would be happy to know is being debated on an episode about him. What did Steven Soderbergh do in his series of thief movies? Has Quentin done a thief movie? I guess Reservoir Dogs isn't really a heist movie.
It's a heist film.
It's a heist.
Yeah.
Well,
it's related to a heist, but you're seeing the part you would never otherwise see in the movie. Yes,
exactly. Then he emphasized that, but it is a heist film.
I'm trying to think if he's ever had like even a heist sequence. It must be in neither of the movies I watched today, because I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, how far do you go with the heist? I mean, we got the scene in Pulp Fiction with, they're in the coffee shop or the diner.
Oh, sure. Is that a heist or is that a robbery?
Yeah, right.
Robbery.
That's a robbery. It's robbery.
I think the point of a heist is that they don't see you do it.
But that was his point. You don't ever see the heist. You just see the after effect. Yeah, you get the planning before, and then you get the after effect. You don't actually see the heist. But in heist films, I mean, what De Niro did one.
Are you thinking of Heat?
Heat, yeah, right.
That's a heist movie.
And then there was.
It's more of a robbery because they kind of have to smash and grab.
It's a bank, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm being particular about what is a heist.
I think you got to be a bank, though, to be a heist. No, not necessarily, because if you were
casinos, which is a financial institution,
but it's something large that has a collection of cash, a bank, a casino, a stagecoach, maybe even a train.
Quentin's not interested in the upper part of a group of characters. His characters are always, it seems like, at a lower level. Intentionally so.
Yeah.
Ground level.
No, I get that.
What did you want to say about Leonardo DiCaprio and how you were contrasting him with, other than the family thing? What did you want to add on the family thing?
Oh, this is just for their interviews, and the only reason why I said it is because I had watched a couple of interviews before I came here tonight because I wanted to see get a couple of ideas.
Yeah, okay.
And it just seemed like there was a dynamic. There was a family dynamic which I think there is in every kind of group. Somebody takes a lead usually, or somebody else they're kind of competing for the lead, and then somebody kind of sits back. Margot definitely plays to the fellas, and it's a boys' club kind of, and Leonardo sometimes he looks like he doesn't even want to be there. And then Brad is just kind of, I just got that feeling about him. He's not.
I think he's playing it a little bit that way.
He could be totally playing
because
it.
he was angling for the Academy Award, and
that there might have been all kinds of different. But viewing it now, 5 years later, 6 years later, this is the kind of you feel the feeling of these interviews. I find them a little, they tend to be a little loud and a little annoying because of Quentin and his tales.
Oh, yes. I remember watching with my, while I was watching an interview for Pulp Fiction off the DVD, my adopted father comes in the room and goes, "Who is that? that is one of the most irritating voices I have ever heard.
I can see that.
And like, I think he was talking to Charlie Rose. And
oh, sure. He did a lot of Charlie Rose interviews.
Yeah, was just disgusted by the way this man sounded and how like hyper he was talking about movies. And it probably helped him understand the child he adopted and, eventually.
He's an acquired taste. He really is. I mean, I'll admit, when I first saw Reservoir Dogs, I hated it. I thought, man, there's no heist in here. Like, you know, there's... I don't like what's the name of that guy? The guy that was in the restaurant scene. I always forget his name. Oh my God.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth.
Yeah.
I hated Tim Roth.
Whose part was cut from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, he was supposed to be
in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and his part got cut.
And Michael Madsen was supposed to be John Travolta's part. That part was written for Michael Madsen.
Oh, yeah.
But he had a previous engagement that he couldn't change, a commitment. Could you imagine?
Well, no one thought Pulp Fiction was going to do what it did.
But I know, but what I'm saying is, John Travolta did such a great job. You could not put Michael Madsen in there and say that he would do it better, because he wouldn't have.
So maybe he is kind of on a lower tier. Like
he's
Eric
a lower
Roberts.
tier than not Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts is the bottom. He's the stain on the pants.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, John Travolta. I mean, we're talking back then. I mean, it recatapulted his career, and he was again an A-lister. You know, I don't think Michael Madsen was ever an A-lister, but he was definitely a C or a C plus or a B minus. You know, Roberts was never even in the C's or the D's.
He was always the thing is, he keeps his quote low so that he can work a lot. No, really,
well, that's just it, right? I mean, they don't do that on purpose. Are you kidding me?
Well,
this is the thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Here we have this actor he's been doing television, and television actors, I mean, in the 50s were a different breed than they were in the 60s. But there was a point in the 60s when the television actor was stepping over and wanted to make the jump over into being the lead actor in Hollywood films. Steve McQueen did it, right? You could say Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even though he did the spaghetti westerns, you know, which were fantastic now, right? But he didn't want to do those. I mean, that was like a step back almost, but it rejuvenated. And so here we have, you know, this particular actor that we're discussing, Roberts. I mean, he just never really did. That's not worth our time, is it?
When you said Italian movies, that's something that the movie does make me want to hotly debate. Is
Italian movies?
Italian or Italian?
Italian.
Because he says Italian.
Italian, yeah.
Is that just something people used to say in the olden days?
Yeah, it's his character. It's his character. Italian movies, because he's kind of got that little bit of a southern accent, and he's got a little bit of that. And I think maybe it's because he's been doing all these westerns, maybe.
Okay.
But you can listen to his voice. Lisa Leonardo did adapt that a little bit, because you can hear that right now. I can hear that. He says that here. Yeah. I don't know what was his backstory. I mean, that's one thing about Quentin films is that when you read the screenplay, it's like a novel, and most of that stuff doesn't get made in the movie. But if you're the actor, you get a real backstory, and you're like, oh my God, which is really great, you know, because you usually don't get that. I mean, I don't know how many scripts I've read where it's like there is no backstory, you know, and you're like, well, okay, I'm going to make my own backstory, but is that going to be what the director wants? I don't know whether it's going to be the writer wants. I don't know.
That's what I don't like about Quentin Tarantino is he's like early Kevin Smith, where it has to be in this direction. I personally like not giving people that so they can make their own decision. It's like, don't explain midichlorians.
I think it's got to be a quid pro quo. I think there's got to be a little bit of each.
If the director doesn't have a strong vision that he then communicates, or she, excuse me, Quentin Tarantino made me think of. You just worked on Alison Gossel's movie, and that's a female director. Yeah, like, don't put it in the script if you're gonna leave it up to them to choose and then direct based on what you see. Quentin doesn't seem. He seems more detailed, and I don't know it. People seem stilted in all of his movies.
Case in point, here's a scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where Leonardo DiCaprio's character, they're filming one of the episodes of the Western that he's doing. And there's a scene with Timothy Olyphant, and they're in this bar, and Leonardo screws up his lines.
Yes.
That was Leonardo's idea.
The part when he goes back into his trailer?
No, where he screws up the line. And Quentin was like, no, that's not what I wrote. This is how he talks, something like this. And he wrote it, and he said, but you know what? He said, but that was such a great idea, and I knew that it was such a great idea that I had to do it. But I filmed it both ways. He filmed it both ways. So he filmed it his way, which was not having him screw up the line, and then him screwing it. But he knew that he had to do it because it fit so perfectly, because then they have that scene where he screws up, blah, blah, blah. So it was, so that's an argument to your point, that he is flexible.
It's an argument against my point.
Against your point, yes.
Yeah, you found it. You found a good bait there. Another self bait would be isn't it when he goes to the trailer, Leo improvised most of that?
And then he had Leo improvise the whole thing. Yeah, he gave him ideas, which I love. I love doing improv, but I just did a thing with I don't know if you know Mercy Mays. He's a great director, producer in the Twin Cities. He does a lot of music videos. He's one of the top music video guys. I shot a film with him last summer. I'm doing this scene where I'm doing a similar kind of thing freaking out, being flagellant, upset with myself. And he gave me, and I did it, and then he threw things out at me to say, and then, which was really helpful. So I think that's a great, it was a point towards supporting Quentin and his directing, that he was able to do that and still give ideas for Leo to, because when you're doing something and you keep doing it, you got the camera rolling, because that's what he did, and you just do it.
And you're shooting on film where it actually matters.
Oh, right. I mean, he did everything on film. Everything was, he did 8mm, 60mm, and 35mm. He did them all. I mean, because each one of those films back in the day, I mean, when you were shooting a TV show from the 60s, you shot on, was it 8mm? No, 16mm? I don't know.
I would have thought you went to tape, but I don't know offhand.
But, so he shot all those things so it would look,
you're talking in this particular picture.
Yeah. So, anyway, so what was the question again? I forgot.
There wasn't a question. I
go off.
So should this have won Best Picture? I'm going to argue 1917 should have. I assume one of you will argue Once Upon a Time should have.
What other films were, I mean, I didn't even think about that. What other films were
Jojo Rabbit was...
which one?
Jojo Rabbit,
Which turned out to be a pretty good film, but it wouldn't have been a best film.
Okay.
I like Jojo Rabbit.
I did as well.
Yeah.
I
like 1917. I thought the cinematography in was just beautiful.
Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
Minnesota's favorite, Roger Deakins, because he, is giving those talks here recently. You have a thought. You're checking your notes.
Robert Richardson
is the cinematographer for this movie. Yes.
Awesome cinematographer. I mean, they won Best Cinematography, didn't they?
I thought it was original and Best Supporting because Brad wins, and I was trying to look that up here.
Oh, good. Because I thought they won Best Cinematography, but
I will confirm it here.
It's that media on media, I mean, how do you got your film, you got your film within your film, and back then it was shot in a different format. It was a different aspect ratio was different. So you get your media on media, and that really fucking makes a movie, man, because you could have shot it in many different ways. They did that with, Richardson did that with Inglourious Bastards. Each little scene had a different color, a different shot ratio. Which maybe you don't notice it, but your body, your mind, your eyes do. You know what I mean? And it gives you a feel. So what did they win?
It was production design and supporting actor. Richardson was nominated, but did not win.
He did not win.
I think he lost to.
Really? To
Deakins.
Deakins. Okay. Well, good. I mean, that was a good loss there, I'd say. and it was Pitt that won Best Supporting.
Yeah, but I guess the question we're asking is, should this have won Best Picture over 1917?
No. Even though 1917 doesn't have that much of a story, I want to say. It's not very interesting. I think more so is that it was shot like a one take, so I really like that about the film. And there's technique and what they had to do to make it look that good.
Well, that was Quentin's argument against it, that he didn't intend to have out. I don't know. I'm sure he signed off on this being released, but he was arguing that it calls attention to itself, so it's not good. Whereas the thing you were describing with what Richardson did in Inglourious Bastards is subtle and doesn't call attention to it. Like, the rubes off the street aren't going to see you like, oh, it was all one take. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The geeks, they're not going to know. I'd have to go back and watch 1917. I think at the time I felt like it deserved it. I have to admit that. So
you do have to admit this. We are under oath on this podcast.
Yes. So that's my memory of what.
How you felt at the time.
How I felt at the time. Yeah. I would say there's more personality and more story to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's more joy and terror, and well, maybe not terror, but I think 1917 is it's a truer story, and it definitely has the feel that the cinematographer gave it, which is this opaque yellow. What's the name of that quality of film back then? The old developing.
It was a developing process for the film.
Yeah, but that kind of makes you feel like it's 1917. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I see what you're saying. Making it look older.
Yeah.
They processed the film in a way that made it seem like how film was processed in an older time. Here's what we can end the non-spoiler section on. Would the young actors who have since gotten very big have gotten very big on their own, or is it because they were in this Quentin Tarantino movie that Sydney Sweeney, Austin Butler, Mikey Madsen, Margaret Qualley, were they all destined for greatness, or is this why they have achieved so much in the past half decade?
No, I wouldn't say so, because it took them a while to actually get big, right? Isn't Austin Butler big just recently with Elvis and
which I think he should have won.
Yeah.
He lost to The Whale.
I like The Whale.
Really?
Yeah.
My wife just watched it, and I can't watch that movie.
I can't either. I can't watch it. I can't. It's not.
I saw him eating the chicken, and that really grossed me out.
Right?
I still want to be able to enjoy chicken, and I can't have the image of Brendan Fraser in my head.
Eating chicken?
Yeah, just the way.
I mean, they say that the reason why he lost is because Tom Hanks. His portrayal of what's his name, his manager, was so horrible that it just screwed up Butler's chances.
I see. Yeah. I forgot Tom Hanks is in that movie because I've kind of separated their performance. And I've watched that movie, and I actually, I've brought this up before on the show, and I'm going to put it out there again. My wife and I will look at each other and quote Elvis the movie and go, "He's what?" And then I go back and watch that scene. They don't say it that big, but they do in my heart. When they find out that the Elvis for the first time, Tom Hanks is the manager guy. Yeah. So that's only Austin Butler. Are you familiar with Sydney Sweeney, Paul?
Yes, I am, and I would say that it didn't hurt their careers at all. I can't say that it catapulted them. Maybe Austin Butler's it did, because it wasn't that long after that 23, so I guess it was a few years.
COVID happened in between this.
Exactly.
So.
Good point. Very good point. I forget about COVID. Who doesn't, right? I mean, it's like those years are all kind of like, we can
blurred.
subtract 4 years from our ages, I think, because they just don't come out.
I already did.
There you go. So she has now, but I'll be honest about it. I mean, some of the films that I've seen her in, I mean, it's just not very good.
Whoa.
Yeah, what movies?
Sydney Sweeney? She had the number one romantic comedy.
It's not good. Have you seen it?
I own it on 4K.
You own it on 4K?
I only saw the first 5 minutes, and then I turned it off. I couldn't.
Wow.
I went on a date with my wife after a Z-Fest meeting to go to it.
I'm talking about her recent one.
Sydney Sweeney?
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Immaculate, where she's the nun?
No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Which one? Who am I thinking of?
That's Mickey Madsen. But she's in here too, and she's nominated for an Oscar. And that reminds me, I've got to record a diss of someone because I had a bet based on that.
Yeah, send it to him.
Yes.
Margaret Qualley, of course. I mean, she was Andy McDowell's daughter. So, and then Uma Thurman's daughters. She had a very small part in there as
Ethan
well.
Hawke's daughter, Maya Hawke.
Oh, yeah, she was in there. Oh, she ran. Yeah.
She's the one that takes off in the car. Yeah, and then who was the girl that's at the screen door when
Dakota Fanning.
No. She's in the chair. She's Squeaky. This is the girl in the beginning who's supposed to keep an eye out. She's made it big. I can't remember her name now. She was in
the screen door in the middle or the end,
and at Spawn Ranch when she's looking.
Oh, that's Sydney Sweeney.
So that's Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah,
yes.
Sydney Sweeney.
Okay,
who you don't like because
I don't dislike her. I thought she was in.
Her movies are just terrible.
Do you think she's terrible?
She's in Euphoria.
I only liked one movie of hers. It was, I think, I don't remember what it's called, but where she like leaks
Wasn't
secret
she in
information.
Marigolds or whatever? Not Marigolds, but the series where they're on vacation.
White Lotus season 1, yes.
That was good. She had a small part in it, but that whole series was.
It's an ensemble. She's in a key part.
Yeah.
Of the
So
ensemble.
she's very good in that.
Sure,
but she's not like the lead actor. What has she been? That's a lead? The last show that she just did a romantic rom-com.
Anyone But You. Yeah, that's the one.
And I didn't think it was very good. Okay.
Yeah. Kirk, the one you're thinking of with her, that was where she played the leaker of I will say I don't remember what the name of that movie is. It's the first name of the person who did that leaking, and it was for the guy who just got released, Julian Assange. She's the one who leaked on Julian Assange, and she has like a weird first name that she made up.
Yeah.
You look it up and I'll vamp for a second. My wife liked it because what they used was the actual FBI transcript for the entire movie.
Oh, well, that's something.
And
yeah. Well, that's not a rom-com.
No. This is a different movie.
Right.
It's like
Reality?
a reality winner.
Yeah. Reality
The
winner.
movie's called Reality,
And
but
this made it out. It wasn't made for
HBO.
Oh, it was HBO.
So it was Max or HBO did this like made-for-TV movie, which is they used the actual dialogue from when Reality Winner was picked up by the FBI, and Sydney Sweeney played it. So
I thought she was great.
That sounds palatable.
My wife really liked it, and I wish I had watched it.
So you don't know? You don't?
I don't know.
Okay.
How do you not own that movie? But you own
because it's on Max, and I subscribe for a year at a time to that, so I can.
A year at a time.
I will watch it
Dune
because
movies?
of this conversation.
I want to rewatch the Dune movies. I got to do that. They're just so long. And to the credit of Timothy, I saw Dune the first Dune on a plane. I was on a plane.
What?
And so
that doesn't count.
I know, right?
That's I like Quentin Tarantino movies better because I've seen them in theaters. And I've seen
yes,
every one in theaters.
exactly. And Dune would have been a movie that you'd want to see in a theater because it's so large.
Yes.
And so
IMAX.
I need to go back.
That's
I need to go back and so I shouldn't. It dragged on, and since I was okay.
That's right here. Yeah.
On a plane. Well, yeah.
Well, let's not drag this segment. So let's hop right into spoilers.